Alright gamers, get ready, as Resident Evil Requiem is finally here and it's shaking up the timeline like never before. Announced at the 2025 Summer Game Fest, this new mainline entry stars FBI agent Grace Ashcroft, daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft from Resident Evil Outbreak, and it's set in the ruins of Raccoon City after the infamous bombing from RE2 and RE3. The game's teasing a return to pure horror, with stealth segments that feel like Alien Isolation. And it's set to drop in February 2026. Let's dive into the timeline, the story, and the leaks that are blowing our minds. Timeline placement, the Aftermath era. Okay, so the timeline. Capcom's out here messing with the chronology enough to make veteran fans break out the lore spreadsheets. This isn't another side quest, flashback, or Umbrella secret operation. Resident Evil Requiem is set about 30 years after the Raccoon City missile strike, which canonically dropped in September 1998. Official sources and fan sleuths pin Requiem's events between 2024 and 2026, making it the furthest point in the core timeline, even past the Shadows of Rose DLC from Village. So, why does this matter? All the leftover trauma from Raccoon City is finally back in the spotlight, now mutated into something uniquely tragic. The protagonist, Grace Ashcroft, isn't some super soldier. She's an FBI technical analyst with a gut-punch backstory tied to Alyssa Ashcroft, her mother, straight out of Resident Evil Outbreak. Alyssa was last mentioned in a 2016 in-universe newspaper, Resident Evil 7's Easter egg, but was mysteriously killed 8 years before Requiem's action. So, set your calendar for a story somewhere in the 2024 to 2026 window, and with Capcom's habit of pairing game release years with in-universe story, a 2026 setting is a safe bet. Capcom keeps the details tight, but what's clear is that the haunted ruins of Raccoon City now serve as a physical reminder of the franchise's darkest hour. This isn't just back to the classics. Everything's twisted by fallout, neglect, and 30 years of new nightmares. Imagine roaming familiar streets, now warped and claustrophobic as hell, as Grace tries to decode mysteries tied to her mum's death and a fresh outbreak. The heart of the story is a gnarly investigation at the Wrenwood Hotel, which brings echoes of Resident Evil's greatest horrors, but spins them through new emotional stakes and environmental storytelling. Full story, Grace versus the ruins of Raccoon City. The lore here is deep. Grace Ashcroft is not just dropped in as another cop with a bad haircut. She's an introverted, traumatized forensic analyst. Think bookworm with PTSD rather than gun-slinging action hero. The story kicks off with Grace investigating a new string of deaths at the Wrenwood Hotel and quickly spirals into a tangled web of the past. Alyssa's tragic demise is the core mystery, and the whole adventure is soaked in loss, dread, and tension. Grace's journey is designed to be personal. She starts off as super vulnerable. She hasn't got Leon's arsenal or Jill's agility. Everything is centered around surviving through stealth, deduction, and old-school horror mechanics. Fans of Resident Evil Outbreak will get amped. It's a direct link to one of the franchise's most underrated games through Grace's family. The Wrenwood Hotel is mapped close to the ruins of the bombed Raccoon City, so you'll see direct references to the city layout from RE2 and RE3 remakes, but now set in a post-apocalyptic setting that's been warped by fallout, weather, and the grotesque passage of time. Capcom's artists and writers went wild, recreating how 30 years of neglect would twist both the city and its survivors. There are blast zones, flooded tunnels, collapsed buildings, and shifting environments. Sometimes your safe escape route disappears mid-mission. Every new mechanic is backed by the franchise's tradition. You'll find files, tapes, and clues linking Grace's investigation back to the earliest biohazard outbreaks. The hotel and city's legacy aren't just background scenery. They're active threats, warped by the virus and Grace's own memories. You're piecing together not just Alyssa's final days, but the lingering aftermath of Umbrella's annihilation. Director Koshi Nakanishi confirmed, Grace isn't a fighter. You're constantly hunted by a new monster, huge, unpredictable and terrifying, who's more like Mr. X or Lady Dimitrescu than the classic zombies. Sometimes you sneak, crouch and distract with bottles. Sometimes you hide and pray your lighter doesn't attract attention. The monster can stalk you through rooms, walls and even ceilings. The AI adapts and learns, so each chase is harder than the last. It's stripped down and tense. Every sound, every flicker of light can get you killed. Alongside Grace, Capcom's being secretive about the supporting cast, but there are big hints of connections to old survivors, journalists, and maybe a few iconic names in the background. Leaks tease glimpses of familiar faces in audiologs, flashbacks, or hidden notes. It makes Grace's lonely trek through Raccoon City feel like a somber tribute to 3 decades of Resident Evil legends. Leaks and gruesome new features. And now, the gamer's juice. Capcom's dropping legit new systems that redefine what survival horror feels like. Persistent damage system. If Grace gets roughed up, from monster attacks, falling or squeezing through debris, those injuries stay visible and game reactive for the rest of your playthrough, even in cinematic cutscenes. Bleeding, limping, blood on her clothes, it all matters. This isn't just health bar goes red. Damage alters dialogue, scene presentation, and sometimes your path forward. Each run is unique, and every fight gets personal. Switchable perspective. To gameplay, swap at any time between first and third person view. First person is the core for creepy immersion, while third person brings back those RE2/RE4 vibes. The design choice actually splits gameplay styles. For claustrophobic horror or broader combat awareness, you pick your poison. Open dynamic level design. Linear corridors? Not anymore. Leaks say some segments allow vehicle traversal through collapsed streets. Environments can flood, collapse or burn in real time, forcing new routes and changing safe zones. Even puzzle solutions can shift, depending on how the environment warps. Upgraded visuals with next-gen engine, ray-traced light, real-time shadows, fog simulation, and frame reconstruction build palpable dread. Even flashlights and ambient lights dynamically attract or repel monster attention. This is the scariest the series has ever looked. Every hall is dripping with atmosphere and danger. Adaptive monster AI. The monster doesn't just walk predictable patrols. It learns your tricks, listens for sound, and reacts to light. Turns out it can go up walls or even fake retreats, setting up ambushes. Some creatures are so warped, they flicker in and out of sight or distort your own vision if you're injured or scared. Environmental investigation and puzzle overhaul. Grace's forensic and analytical background means you solve more than key-lock puzzles. You'll reconstruct corrupted files, repair old surveillance cameras, decode patterns in security systems. It's part logic, part horror challenge. Sometimes, puzzles require real-time environmental changes, rerouting power, lining up faint projector signals, and frequently ties straight into the next twist in the story. Unique story choices and consequences. Demo feedback says that game choices around stealth, injury, and detection shift cutscenes and story dialogue in real time. Hide successfully, and Grace is more composed. Get hurt, and narrative scenes react to her trauma. Fans hope for heavier branching and maybe even permanent consequences if you mess up big. The fan vibe, development story, and what's next. Hype for Requiem has been absolutely explosive. The Summer Game Fest 2025 reveal was bonkers. Capcom dropped the trailer unannounced, leaving fans scrambling to piece together clues from every scene. The game was nearly an open-world multiplayer experiment, but player feedback at early testing made Capcom pivot hard back to what works: tense, focused, single-player horror. Devs say the entire vision is about addictive fear, heart-pounding, solitary tension, not generic action or endless shooting. Journalists and streamers who got early peeks call it the scariest Resident Evil yet. Realistic lighting, unpredictable enemies, and relentless AI make every play session unique. The damage system keeps players constantly anxious and strategic, forcing you to think about every step and every choice. Ready for the release? It's coming to PlayStation 5, Windows, Xbox Series XS, and Nintendo Switch 2, with all next-gen enhancements included. Capcom confirmed the Switch 2 port is on point. They spent months fine-tuning the RE engine with Resident Evil Village before committing to launch day parity. Closing thoughts and gamer take. Resident Evil Requiem feels like the end of an era, and the start of something grimmer and deeper. The timeline ties in 30 years of lore and tragedy. The gameplay mechanics crank up fear in ways RE has never done before. Grace Ashcroft's journey isn't just about defeating monsters. It's about unraveling everything Resident Evil has been building for decades. Every step in those ruined city streets, every injury, every puzzle and piece of the story feels like part of the legacy. Capcom's setting the bar so high this time that it feels like Requiem could be survival horror's new blueprint. So whether you're a long-time biohazard maniac or just hunting for the next gaming nightmare, mark February 2026 in red. Resident Evil Requiem is where you'll want to be, sweating out every jump scare, every monstrous chase, and every limitless lore bomb the devs have in store. So that's all for Resident Evil Requiem. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more great updates.